Okay, this is what I mean about when I say don't go looking about your go chambers and shit. Don't do that. If you're going to do research, even go to people you've never ever fucking heard of, never seen nothing, or know nothing of them. Within 2 minutes, and this is not just because, it's not because I agree with what she's saying. It's because she just made a light globe go off in my fucking ping. Fuck, of course. And I don't even know if she's on Trump's side or not yet. I'm just within a couple of minutes, bing, and I'm like, fuck, of course. It's fucking staring us in the face. And that's just another. Trump's ballroom is a lie. Oh, like, what's this ballroom thing? What's this ballroom thing? Why is he hanging out with the fucking tech bros? Why has he got Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk, and all that, and Bezos's and all them cunts fucking hanging around him? Why has he got them people having fucking joining him for fucking parties at Mar-a-Lago and joining him for dinner meetings at the Whitehouse in the so-called ballroom? Oh, the Dre dossier, okay. The Dre dossier. Dossier. You know what a dossier is, don't you? A dossier. It's a file of dirt that you have of someone. You got a dossier. Okay. I want you to get a good picture of this. Why? Not just because I think she's pretty. But she is. What will we say? I'll just say this much. Data. We got the data. We've got all the data's in. We got all the data. It's tremendous.
Look, Trump is not building a ballroom. This much, I feel like, is obvious. I made a video about this a few weeks ago, giving my thesis of what I think is actually being built, and that video got taken down on my TikTok after about 8 million.
She could be a young Dana Scully, nearly. What's for Scully? Sorry, Joe Cordy, Palmer. Scully was better.
In views, so I re-uploaded it here. And if you haven't seen that one yet, I recommend going over and watching that because it gives you a good basis for where we're starting out from. But I wanted to follow up on my theory, okay? Because in the original video, while I had some solid architectural analysis from Andrew Kerr, it was mostly based off of like a gut instinct, in my own pattern recognition. And since then, I have been digging deep, scouring the web across databases and looking for records, and I have come back with actual receipts, like some actual verifiable public record receipts. And now my theory is stronger than ever, okay? Because I know that Trump is not building a ballroom. He's building an underground data center, and I have the receipts now to prove it. But really quick, if you want to read all of the sources and the documentation for yourself from this video, then they're all going to be linked at the bottom of my Substack, the Dre Dossier, and that's going to be in the description below. And your support means the world to me, so please like this video and subscribe to my channel because TikTok is slowly going to the bad place, and I'm trying to build my presence here on YouTube so that I can keep doing this kind of work with you guys. So sincerely, thank you all so much. And with that,
home is where memories are made. It's where you belong and where you want to stay. As a trusted part of the Tasmanian community for over 40 years, Anglicare brings quality aged care home. Centred around your needs, Anglicare's friendly, reliable team delivers the care you want in the place you love. Because at the end of the day, it's good to be home.
let's get into it. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, where did you even come up with this idea, right? And to that I would say, well, where does one come up with any evil genius idea? Larry Ellison, of course, my nemesis. You see, a few months back, I was doing a deep dive on Larry Ellison and his relationship with Israel and the war in Gaza. And it was during that research I came across something about Oracle building these underground data centers in Jerusalem in 2021. See, they were 9 stories deep under solid bedrock, about 160 feet underground, and designed to survive missile strikes. I mean, they were completely invisible from satellites. See, Israel needed data sovereignty, a place where their most sensitive military data could live that was physically unhackable and under complete government control. And when you're running these classified military operations, intelligence gathering, or government AI systems, you can't just have that data sitting in some commercial cloud that might be in another country or vulnerable to attack. And after learning all of that, I remember thinking to myself, all right, well, we're gonna just go ahead and put a pin in this for now, right? Like, this is all really fascinating, but I don't know what to do with any of this information, but I'm sure that it'll come in handy later. And later in handy did it come, because fast forward a few months and I'm reading about Trump's new ballroom announcement, and that pattern recognition side of my brain starts tingling. Why, you ask? Well, let me just read the specs out loud to you, okay? Because Oracle's underground facilities in Jerusalem were 90,000 square feet and cost around $319 million. Trump's ballroom is about 90,000 square feet and $300 million and climbing. Curious. And then on January 21st, 2025, you have Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is standing next to him and Sam Altman, and they're giving this White House announcement about Project Stargate. Now, I'm not kidding when I say I could write an entire dissertation on January 21st, because they gave us so much information in that announcement that I feel like, quite frankly, many of us just glazed over. And I've broken it down ad nauseum in other videos and over on my Substack, but the short version is this. Project Stargate is this $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative for government operations, defense intelligence, and consolidating federal data across agencies. Because all of these AI initiatives Trump and his team keep launching need infrastructure. They need servers, power, cooling, and security. And then you look over to who's donating to Trump's ballroom project, right? And the coincidences just keep stacking up on one another. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, if this is actually what's happening, right? If this is actually what's being built, then there's got to be some evidence somewhere. Like, you can't just build an underground data center without leaving any paper trail. And so I start digging, right? Because the first thing I want to know is who's actually building this thing. So their lead contractor is Clark Construction. And I went to their website to see what kind of projects they normally work on, and under their critical facilities division, here's what they publicly list. So you've got National Geospatial Intelligence Agency campus, CISA cybersecurity headquarters, UCENTCOM headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base. I'm reading all of this thinking, okay, so these guys build some serious government facilities. Like, these are no joke. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, if they're this comfortable touting these publicly listed, high security projects, then what aren't they listing? So I keep digging a little further, right? I'm going through these different government contract registries, procurement records, that kind of thing. And then bingo, I found some redacted contracts for Clark Construction, some top secret contracts, it looks like. And you'll never guess who they're for. Well, I mean, we can't guess because they're redacted, but I mean the type of job they're for. Guess what kind of job they're for. If you guessed data centers, you'd be correct. And it's not even like 1 or 2 of these kinds of contracts I found, right? Not even 3. I found 6 redacted contracts for data centers that they built around the US. And again, I'll link all of these contracts in my Substack if you want to go check them out, but they're just listed as literally confidential client data centers 1 through 6. And the client names are obviously classified because the facilities themselves, I'm sure, are classified. I mean, Clark's own description of their work says that they focus on security and survivability, reliability and redundancy, and complex critical facilities. So the company whose specialty is building classified data centers for clients that they can't even name is building the ballroom. Okay, sure, Jan, sure. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because Clark Construction holds a NAVFAC contract, Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command, with a $950 million ceiling. And the way these contracts work is admittedly very clever. So the total value of these contracts is public, but the individual task orders, like the actual work that's being done, that can be considered classified, which means they can hide the true value, cost, and scope of projects by funneling them through these pre-existing military construction contracts. So not only do they specialize in classified data centers, but they have a mechanism to hide what they're actually building. And then on December 4th, something pretty wild happened. Trump fired his ballroom architect. His name was James McCreary, and he was this classical architect who designs these beautiful churches and historic buildings, designing buildings like the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Supreme Court gift shop. I mean, say what you will about the guy, but he's got range. But alas, Trump replaced him with a different architect, a guy by the name of Shalom Baranes. When I say I went to look this man up and my jaw dropped to the floor, so a little background on him. After 9/11, when the Pentagon needed to be rebuilt and hardened against future attacks, they hired Shalom Baranes. Yeah, this man designed the post-9/11 hardening project for the Pentagon, the secure wedges, the SCIFs, the bomb-resistant architecture. This was all Shalom. And SCIFs, by the way, are sensitive compartment information facilities. They have electromagnetically shielded rooms for classified intelligence work and are built to survive missile attacks. And it's important you know what SCIFs are because this comes back into play a little later on. And his portfolio doesn't stop there. It gets a lot more intense with DHS headquarters, Treasury building modernization, the GSA headquarters secure facility, the CISA cybersecurity headquarters that, yes, Clark Construction also built. Yeah, so these guys have rendezvoused together before. And at this point, I wanted to see if I could take a peek at what was happening on the ground. So, with my last remaining week of my free Planet Labs subscription, I looked through some satellite imagery, and what I saw astounded me. And I saw that these flatbed trucks had been photographed delivering these massive steel caissons to the site. Now, from what I understand about caissons is that they are these huge cylindrical retaining structures, basically. You use them for deep underground construction. They're designed very specifically to hold back soil and water pressure whenever you're going way deep underground. So you wouldn't use them for just standard foundation. And then I saw this heavy lift crane that was like permanently anchored into a concrete pad. And that seemed to be for some long duration construction involving heavy structural materials and lifts from a deep excavation pit. And all of this brought me to my next question, which is if this is actually going to be a data center, then that means they're going to need a massive amount of power. Because data centers consume insane amounts of electricity. So I started looking into what's been happening with DC's power infrastructure. And here is where it gets interesting. In August and September of 2025, just weeks after Trump's announced the ballroom in July, PEPCO filed emergency requests for infrastructure work near the East Wing. And this called for an emergency relocation of water infrastructure, large-scale waterline modifications, and something called Champlain Substation Modernization, which I still haven't quite figured out what that means. But PEPCO's own language in the emergency filing says that there's a lack of alternative supply capacity in downtown D.C. And now, here's the thing about that.
We're gonna shoot a movie in the Amazon.
We just need to find real snake. Snatch and grab.
Something's out there. Downtown DC office occupancy has been declining since COVID. I mean, half the buildings are empty. In general, the commercial real estate market is shrinking, not growing. So where's this new massive power demand coming from? And speaking of infrastructure, DC Water increased their capital spending by $300 million, including a specific study of the Federal Triangle area. I found a post by the Washington Aqueduct, which is run by the Army Corps of Engineers, and they were warning that data centers are planning to use Potomac River water for cooling. So at this point, I've got the contractor who builds classified data centers, the architect who designs Pentagon bunkers, physical evidence of deep underground construction, and massive power upgrades along with massive water upgrades. And so the next question I have is, who the hell is funding all of this? Trump says it's being privately funded, and the White House put out a rough list of donors, although most of the amounts from those donors is unknown. So, I mean, really, they could be donating anything from checks to cash to Bitcoin to their own product, maybe. And when I was looking for more information about these donors, I saw that the Carrier Corporation was bragging about how they're donating an HVAC system to the White House ballroom. And so this is interesting because I looked into Carrier, and I saw that they have a lot of different products. They have residential AC units, commercial systems, and all kinds of stuff listed on their website. But they also have something called Carrier Quantum Leap, which is specifically their data center solutions. Comprehensive energy efficient solutions for data center thermal management is what their website says. Now, if Carrier is donating an HVAC system and they're on a list with Microsoft, Amazon, Palantir, and all of these heavy hitters, then are they really donating a less than $100,000 ballroom AC system? Or are they perhaps donating the more expensive thing from their new line of solutions, the Data Center Thermal Management System? Because wouldn't that be a brag to say, it's our thermal management systems that are cooling the White House data center? But that did get me thinking, like, if at least one company is donating a product on top of money, then I'm sure that there are others, right? I mean, who knows how many? So I decided to go through the donor list again, and this time with a different mindset. Not looking for dollar amounts, but looking at what each of these companies do. And that's when I see one name jump out to me on this ballroom donors list, and that's Paolo Tiramani. And many of you may not be familiar with his name, but I'm sure you know his company, Boxable. Boxable is a Las Vegas company that makes these foldable prefab buildings, and they're about 375 square feet, and they come with electrical and plumbing already built in. Their whole pitch has been basically disaster relief and affordable modular homes. But if you start looking into what Boxable has actually been building for the government, well, it's not just disaster relief housing. That's right, I found contracts showing that they sent over 150 units to Guantanamo Bay in 2021 and 2022. That's right, they've been working on Class 5 military installations, and their SEC filings mention government exemptions from normal state regulations, which means they have clearance to work in classified DoD sites, evidently. And that's when I saw that their units come pre-installed with Faraday caging. That's right, electromagnetic shielding, the kind of thing you would need for skiffs. Remember skiffs? I told you to remember skiffs? Because think back to Oracle's underground facilities in Jerusalem. I mean, their own documentation shows that they use modular construction techniques for their own rapid deployment of internal infrastructure, prefabricated rooms that could be assembled quickly underground. And I'm seeing names like Caterpillar on this list, where I'm sure that they've donated equipment, like heavy machinery, excavators, and Caterpillar also makes industrial generators, the Cat 3516B model.
And Caterpillar also builds remote control tanks right here in Burnie.
That provide over 100 megawatts of backup power. Union Pacific is also an interesting donor in that light because yes, they're a railroad company, but what many people don't know is they also own 1,400 miles of classified fiber optic cables that run along the railway right of way. And it's those fiber optic networks that the Department of Defense have as their secure telecommunications backbone, and it's because they're air-gapped from the public internet. And then you've got Microsoft and Amazon, Google, Palantir, like every major cloud computing and AI infrastructure company in America that matters. You got Booz Allen Hamilton, who builds classified networks for the CIA and NSA, Blackstone installing over 200 megawatts of backup power infrastructure. And then I started thinking about who's not on the list. You know, Baccarat Cristal chandeliers, Versace, Hermes, Tiffany silverware, like Steinway pianos, the brands that would kill to have their name associated with the most elegant ballroom in America. I mean, the kind of luxury that screams Whitehouse state dinner. I mean, none of them are here. Which is when it all kind of clicked for me, because this is clearly not a list of donors for a ballroom. This is a supply chain for a data center. And if you're still not convinced about this data center infrastructure, well, Trump basically told us. October 22nd, 2025, in the Oval Office, the direct quote was, "We're also working with the military on it because they want to make sure everything is perfect, and the military is very much involved in this." The military is very much involved in the ballroom? Jesus Christ. Oh, well then that explains why Pete Hegseth has been purging all of our gay service members, because, you know, if there's one thing we know about straight men with a lot of testosterone, it's that they love giving their input on decorating ballrooms. It was just weeks after Trump said that very quote in the Oval Office that they fired the ballroom architect and hired the Pentagon guy. Okay, so what does any of this actually mean? Well, I think we should go back to the underground data centers in Jerusalem, because understanding why Israel built those might tell us why Trump is building one here, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. So Israel built those facilities for something called Project Nimbus, which is their government cloud infrastructure. And we've seen what this looks like in practice, right? I mean, the AI system that Israel's using in Gaza, the targeting systems, the surveillance infrastructure, the operational decision-making, and that all runs on this underground data center network. I mean, we're talking full AI takeover, military operations, intelligence gathering, government AI information systems like banking, critical infrastructure controls, everything that keeps the country running. And they put it 9 stories underground because they needed it to survive, not just survive a power outage or a cyber attack, but to survive a war. I mean, they needed it to survive missile strikes and keep running no matter what happens above the ground. Because when you have your entire government running on AI systems, that is now the brain of your country, and you have to protect the brain of your country with a thick skull. That's what data sovereignty looks like. That's continuity of government, and that's what AI warfare infrastructure actually looks like. You know, and then I'm looking at Project Stargate, announced on January 21st, 2025, Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is going on and on about this $500 billion AI infrastructure that's going to save the government and cure cancer. But all of these grandiose ideas surrounding AI, all of that needs a home. And that's why I think it has to be at the White House specifically, because when infrastructure is a part of the executive office of the president, then it has to be classified, protected, exempt from oversight, and the president has to have direct access to it. And lest we forget, the East Wing sits directly above the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the PEOC bunker. It's 5 stories deep, staffed 24/7 by military military offices. And by demolishing the entire East Wing, they removed every structure blocking access to that bunker. And now they can expand it and go deeper or integrate new infrastructure if they'd like. And because it's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, executive privilege covers all of it. I mean, think about it. The president controls what gets disclosed and what doesn't. I mean, this is what the government running on AI with all of that power consolidated under executive control in a facility that can survive anything and Congress can't audit looks like. And look, I'm sure they'll build a ballroom on top. You know, they'll host state dinners and take photos with world leaders in gowns and tuxedos, and maybe it'll even look fabulous. But don't kid yourself about what this was actually built for, because the ballroom isn't the project. The ballroom is the lid.
Oh my god. I think I'm in love. Oh no, I think I'm in love. Woo. Oh, what a beautiful mind. Oh my gosh. Move over Whitney Webb. You know, Whitney Webb is another beautiful mind. I'm almost jealous. No, trust me, a mind like that is a curse. When you can see it all, and so it's really, look. My biggest problem is trying to put what I see into words that you'll get, that you'll comprehend. Right? I see it without having to do the deep dives. I probably because I see it through a different lens. I see it through the character traits and the patterns of what the people are doing, what they're saying. I don't spend hours and hours and hours scouring the internet for company names and expenditure amounts and that sort of thing. Guantanamo Bay. Now we know what Guantanamo Bay is all about, don't we? What do we? And all these rumours about there are going to be military tribunals in Gitmo and Guantanamo Bay, where there's going to be public hangings. Maybe there is. Wouldn't it be horrible if the Democrats were right? Wouldn't it be horrible if they were right to the point that they don't just go after the bad people, they go after everybody that won't go along? So I'm pretty damn sure I'm on that. I'd be on that list. Well, it's not all about me. I know it's not all about me. It's all about us. It's all about everybody. Those who do not comply and don't care about what they lose. Oh, you've taken away my ability to buy your fucking shop muck. Who gives a fuck? I've got a secret garden up the bush. Oh, you've taken away my ability to do anything in the community. I don't give a fuck. I've already jumped in my unregistered vehicle that you don't know that I own and fucking fucked off. Come and find me if you can. Yeah, I'm one of those people. And I would suggest you don't try to come and find me. I honestly would suggest you don't try to come and find me. I don't need a firearm to protect myself in the bush. You're better off to leave me the fuck alone in the bush. Yeah, me and the bush are like that. Very, very close friends. I walk into the bush and I'm gone for 2 minutes and you'll never fucking find me again. I'm gone. Boop. And I'm only a few feet away from you, but you can't find me. All I need is a backpack. I don't need all your fucking glomp. Don't need all your bullshit. I travel light. Wow, what a beautiful mind. Oh, look, sugar in a biscuit. There's a biscuit and sugar. Oh dear, oh dear. I've been saying for, how long have I been saying now? He's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy. Brian, come inside.